I'm Rory Sheppard with ActionCOACH of West Texas. Today I'm joined by Travis Barnett from Centerline Engineering. Welcome, Travis.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
So Travis would like to just kind of start with this question of giving us a 10,000-foot overview of you, Centerline Engineering, and then really what's next for you as you look over the next 2 to 5 years.
Well, Centerline Engineering is a multidisciplinary land development and design firm. We have civil engineering, environmental engineering, land survey. We have all these different pieces of the process in-house, and the goal of Centerline, the way we've positioned ourselves, is to be able to work with a client from concept to construction so that we can take a raw piece of land through completed construction without sub-consultants, and being able to work with a client to see their vision and take them the entire way through that process, be it a new subdivision or a Taco Bell on a street corner. We do projects of all sizes, but being able to stay involved with somebody through their idea, that they have, and take it all the way through the construction process with them. That's what we're set up to do, and that's what we like to do. As a firm, we've been in business for 7 years. This is our 8th year. We're now up to 7 offices across the state of Texas, and we service a 4-state area. And so we're happy with the growth that we've had. We've been more than blessed with the growth that we've had. Some of it through M&As, some of it through organic opening of offices in different parts of the state. All of our offices are in Texas right now. We're really focusing on geographic infill of all of our offices and making sure all of these offices are well balanced amongst each other. And then kind of the next steps for us is looking outside the state of Texas. Our scope of services and our clientele has expanded outside of the state. And so right now we're focusing on really putting our roots down hard so that gives us a good springboard to take Centerline outside the state of Texas and expand geographically.
Fantastic. Love that answer. And you really kind of moved into what I was going to ask next, which was that, what do you attribute your growth to? And so part of it was, purely through M&A, acquisition, those kind of things. But what has led to the success, or kind of if you thought about how were you able to continue to grow when you go from, everybody being in a single location to multiple locations? Have you been successful with that growth?
Well, so for 6 years straight, we did 100% growth rate year over year. So growth is something, I'm more comfortable in that uncomfortable growth position than I am in a normal, like if we have a 30% growth curve, I get nervous, right? Just because we've spent that much time growing that fast. But it really, the people on your team and the processes of leadership, the speed with which we grew, getting the right people. I've always heard the phrase or the kind of canned response about, just find the right person and put them on your bus and we'll figure out where they sit later. And there's a lot of truth to that. I believe it. I've seen it work. We're just looking for the people who are going to buy into our culture, who want to be ultra responsive to our clients, who want to be communicative, and who understand that our roles are constantly changing. That change is the norm for us as we grow, as our services, we're going to offer a new service. Hey, do you want to go switch over and get on this team, or do you want to stay on this team? Opportunities is kind of where we've started. So in the grand scheme of things, both of the partners of Centerline are younger. Between the two of us, we've got 6 kids under the age of 6.
Oh, wow.
We try to stay as far away from the phrase, that's the way it's always been done, as we can find ourselves.
Right.
And we've built a culture around that, and finding the people that match your culture. When those two things align, you can do just about anything. And so that's been we've been very lucky in that perspective, and in that I don't know what you want to call it, but we've been very lucky to get the right people that have matched with our culture. And we've had an opportunity to find leaders who would expand us into a new market. We've had the opportunity to go through M&As, but with our research and the time that we spent before we made those, moves, to make sure that the culture was going to match, that we're not just going to bring a group of people in that was not going to be on board with the way we did things. So getting those things lined up, I'm happy to say through two mergers and one acquisition, over 3 years, we've had 100% employee retention from all three of those.
Yeah,
So all of the
congratulations.
people that came to us through those are still with us, and they're part of our team, and they're part of the family now. And that, if they believe that, it works pretty well.
Yeah. So yeah, I love the quote from Jim Collins, right? Get the right people on the bus and then find the right seat for that people, for those people on the bus. One of the things that we say is hire hearts, train smarts, right? So that idea of, if I get the right heart, I can change positions. I can move you around inside the organization when the opportunity avails itself, right? And with 100% growth, right? You're expanding, you've got new opportunity all the time, and people love to be part of a team that's winning. Congratulations on the 100% growth, and then 3 successful kind of M&A activities. That's phenomenal.
Well, the process becomes a pretty big piece of that conversation too. And I feel like, as a leader, you set the culture, you make sure that the culture has, the right bumpers on the bowling lane to make sure that it's staying where it needs to be. And then it has to take a life of its own, and you're just kind of steering it to make sure we're staying where we want. But the process is part of that, are the bumpers that you provide. And so putting strong processes in place, putting processes that are simple and scalable and are easily explained at every level, and that anybody can explain them, that's been a big part of our ability to keep growing as fast as we did without breaking down. You got to have the right people, and they can love it, and they can be as passionate as they want to. And without some standardized, scalable, simple processes, the wheels are going to come off the bus, and all the right people are still going to be sitting on the bus. It's not going to be going anywhere. So people and processes is pretty much what I try to keep my day built around.
I would say that you are speaking my love language. Both of those, right? Both people and process. Wrote an article today. Winning teams have guardrails and goalposts, right? And so that guardrails, those bumper, what is the lane I'm supposed to be playing in? But then also, where am I supposed to be going? And when I get those two right and those are defined, good things can happen. So you and your partner, 6 kids under the age of 6. So how do you balance that professional life with running a business? There's got to be a little bit of a tug on you both directions. So how do you do that?
It is a tug. I knew this was going to come up, and I guess I feel a little guilty about my answer, and I probably always will, but not as good as I should is the honest answer to that question. There's truth to that, and I feel like there are so many people who you can go listen to who will say things like, don't do what I did.
Right.
Find your balance. Don't sacrifice the things that I sacrificed. Well, there was a choice that was made there. And it's hard to look at that and expect to get different results without putting in, the time and the things that you need to do. So the better way for me to say that is, my wife is my partner in our journey together. And this is not something that we went into blind or with any misconceptions about what it was going to take and what it still takes every day. And she is my biggest supporter in, what I do and the time that it takes, and if there's travel and if there's just everything else. And she doesn't hold that against me, and she stands behind me. And I probably spend more time uh, kicking my own behind,
Right.
because I know there are times that I wish I was there more and that the balance was better. But to just be clear in those conversations about what are our goals, what are we doing to get there, and
Mhm.
what are we willing to sacrifice and not, and to be clear when I'm not willing to sacrifice this anymore,
Right.
or I've reached my limit, we need to change something so that we can make some things available. Putting those Having those conversations with my wife was
Yeah.
very important for me early on, and has stayed that way. And so that's the way I like to answer that question, is with honesty about what your
Yeah.
what your goal is and what your sacrifice level is. And some people get lucky and some people work real hard. And however you're going to do it, just make sure you're going in eyes wide open, and that nobody in your family unit is going through this blindly.
Yeah. No, thank you for the honesty and the authenticity with that answer. Right. I mean it is a struggle for all of us. Right. And
My wife's a saint, man. That's the best way to say that. She covers me, she takes care of me,
yep.
and she puts up with me when I come home upset, and she puts up with me when I come home tired, and she pushes me out of the door in the morning because she knows I'm supposed to be there 30 minutes
Right.
early. I mean, I couldn't do any of this without her. So and being intentional, there's a lot of uh, that gets thrown around a lot, but it's true. With the time you have, just be intentional. Be clear with your conversations about what we're doing, and be intentional with your time. When I'm with my kids, turn the phone off and be with them, right? And that's
Okay.
worth
Yep.
another hour, right? You
Yeah.
spend 1 hour of good, of awesome, or 2 hours of doing something else.
Yeah.
So
Thank you. Love that. Um, so what would you say your biggest learnings have been after you became an employer and started business and hiring people, doing mergers and acquisitions? What is that biggest learning for you?
um I think early on, I think a lot of people think that your success in business is connected to your technical expertise. So I own an engineering company. I'm an engineer, by trade and by training, and
Mhm.
I've done this for long enough, let's say.
Right.
But being the best engineer is not what grows my business. Being the most technically sound engineer, I can be the best drainage analyst that there is in the state of Texas. And that's not going to grow my business. Right. And making the switch from becoming the technical expert to becoming the leader of the business, and making that shift from the startup to a small business. And in the startup, you wear all the hats.
Right.
Right. And in the small business, to me, that's when you can't wear them all anymore. And you start having to make choices about how you're going to spend your time. Can I teach someone else what can I teach someone else how to do most effectively?
Right.
That's probably the best way to say is, what have you learned? Is at some point through your growth as the guy at the top, to grow, you have to decide to delegate. But what you delegate becomes a question of, what can I most effectively teach other people? And so for me, that struggle was letting go of the technical parts of my job that I love. I didn't get into this because I don't like engineering and I don't like numbers,
Right.
but coming to the understanding that I can't be the technical expert
And
and still manage this business. Um, and I can hire people who are technical experts, and I can still pour into them, and I can still share my knowledge, and I can still participate on those teams. But we've gotten bigger than just offering engineering. Now we have surveying, construction. We have all of these different scopes of services that my little favorite one that I used to work in can no longer be my favorite one.
Right.
We have to spread beyond. And so as you transition into leadership, you got to let go of the technical, get some focus on some soft skills. And that's an interesting shift to make when you kind of go from the startup to the small business. Is how you're going to get through that letting go of your old toys.
Yeah.
It's hard to do.
Yeah. That's fantastic advice for people as they move from the startup entrepreneur that's doing everything to having to share. Right. And that's
right.
Letting go is really hard. So thank you for sharing that. So where do you see your business 5 years from now? And do you have any other additional advice for business owners who are looking to grow? I think that's very sage advice, but anything else? But where do you see your business 5 years from now?
I would like to see our business very, very well established as a leader in the state of Texas, as in public and private land development projects that are happening throughout the state. But I would see us as a national, regional competitor.
Okay.
Short answer.
Fantastic. Love it. All right. So I've got a section here now called kind of simple insight. So kind of one sentence answers, 30 seconds or less. We'll go pretty fast. So what are you reading right now? Or is there a book that you'd recommend?
So I do my leadership. I take in leadership things in the form of a podcast. And when I read a book, I want to check out of the world. So things that I'm reading right now, I'm reading some survivalist apocalypse fiction right now, but next week it'll be a Louis L'Amour book. Okay. And then it'll be Jack Carr. Like, I love fiction and the ability to check out and get in somebody else's world for a while.
So leadership podcast, who are you listening to?
Oh, I listen to a lot of Jocko Willink. I like a lot of their products. So I listen to him. I listen to Jack Carr. I listen to Andy Stump, Joe Rogan. I get all over the place. I like all these perspectives, and a lot of leadership is not like the simple things. It's just listening to these guys with crazy stories that have been so successful, right? And how did they do it? That's what I like to find when I'm cruising through podcasts, is somebody with a cool story. And I just want to hear where did you go to high school all the way to now? And let's take the pieces out that apply. So biggest learning being an employer since you've been in business, been in business. Holy cow. Biggest learning. The importance of culture. Okay. The importance of culture I have learned through trial and error the impact that can have on your workplace. And as the leader, the higher up you get, that is the way that I can still be involved in every employee's day. I can touch all of that is by impacting the culture. I can't impact their technical daily work. And there's some people now, thankfully, that work for us that I'm not qualified to do their job. No more can I step into an office and say, I will do this. I will fix this problem today, because we've grown past that and we have other experts. But what I can say is, I'm going to steer the culture today, and that's going to affect everybody. And if we can stay on the same path, we can all get somewhere together that we'll be happy we got there. Fantastic. So is there one thing that you have changed your mind on in the past year? What I used to say was real and this is true, and now you've changed your mind? Not off the top of my head. I've gone through, I tell you, I've been burned on trusting some people. I've had my trust taken advantage of by an employee, and that's a struggle. And the struggle from that is to not knee jerk in the other direction and say, well, we're not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to put myself in that position again.
Right.
And, you know, you can say that for about 48 hours and then you got to get over it.
Yeah.
Because it was not the right people and it was not the right culture, and everybody makes mistakes, but you have to put yourself in a position to trust those under you, or you will limit your growth.
Perfect. Love that. So as we wrap up, how should people connect with you, and how should they connect with Centerline? Different.
Well, centerlineengineering.net is our website, and that's the best way to get in touch with us. That's got the contact information for all of our offices, no matter where you are, if you have something. And so, you know, that's got office numbers, and start there is the best way to reach out to us if you got something in mind. We'd love to hear your ideas.
Give me where are all your offices? You've got 7, so where are they?
Yes, sir. We were founded and started in Lubbock, Texas, the panhandle of Texas. So we're in Lubbock, Plainview, Amarillo, and Borger, all 4 towns kind of from the South Plains up the panhandle of Texas. We're in Plano and Tyler, and we just opened an office in Boerne, Texas last month. So we're excited to be in Boerne and really spreading out into that Central Texas Hill Country area. And you know, the weather's different in these different offices now. So it's fun to call somebody, and, you know, gets really hot down there in Boerne, but it's really cold up here during the winter. So we just balance and rib each other a little bit as, you know, different people are going through different stuff.
Well, Travis, thank you very much. Enjoyed the conversation. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Roy.